Hey guys, how's it going? It's Al. Week 10 Thursday night football showdown between the Panthers and the Chicago Bears. We're going to take a look at who I believe are the viable captains on the night. We're going to take a peek over at Underdog Fantasy and fill out a pick'em card for the night. It's an ugly game. The Bears are favored by 3.5 right now. They're up in the air on whether or not, Justin Fields is going to be back to be the starter. I'm going to give you the if-then statements that you need. I believe that they are priced currently as though Fields is not going to be back, priced in terms of Vegas, with the total being at 40. The Bears only being 3.5-point favorites in this one, with Tyson Bagent projecting to be the starting quarterback. But they said there's a chance that Fields could be back. So we're going to take a look at that if-then statement, what it means if Fields is there, what it means if he's not, as well as going over to Fantasy Labs and building a bunch of lineups. So thank you guys for being here. Drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, ring the notifications bell, and let's go.
He's a legend.
The Smiz Gang Listener League is posted for week 10. It's already week 10. It's been that long. $10 to enter 3 max for this tournament. So you will not find it in the DraftKings lobby. You have to go to smizzle.tv/links in order to find the league. I would definitely go there. And while you're there, you can click on everything else. Follow me everywhere that I'm live on Twitch, follow me on Instagram, TikTok, the fantasy football channel that has the recap video every single Monday going over everything from the previous week. It's all there in the link tree. Smizzle.tv/links. Make sure that you join the listener league today. Let's get it filled so they can keep it at this size so you guys can win the most money possible for absolutely no rake. Going over to this slate. This is, like I said, I talked about it in the open. Fields, they didn't have like a full practice, okay? They had a walkthrough practice, but they said if it was a full practice that Fields went and would have been limited, but he was there. It's not a situation where he's not going to play. We'll know more after the Tuesday practice. They won't divulge from what we've known until Wednesday, probably, maybe Thursday morning. To know, I'm recording this video. It is 9:45 a.m. on Tuesday morning. This video goes live Wednesday morning. If news changes or breaks, this is why I'm giving you the if-then statements. You need to keep up with news and what it and how it's going to affect things. So like if you have your projections, it's clearly going to be reflected in those. This video, I'm going to give you if Justin Fields is in. I will also discuss the differences if Justin Fields is out. But if you wanted to stay up to date with everybody in our community, make sure that you become a channel member here on YouTube, smizzle.tv/join, and make sure you hop on our Discord at smizzle.tv/discord, and they will be able to discuss the slate with all of our 10,000 people in the Discord all the way up until lock to keep you up to date with the latest breaking news on the slate. So Justin Fields, the much maligned Justin Fields, right? The guy who everybody thinks, oh, they should have gotten rid of him last year, and like they should get rid of him this year for if they get the #1 pick and they can get the kid from USC, all those sorts. Like everybody has Justin Fields out the door. Justin Fields played before the injury game, where he started off just fine in that one too. He was shredding against Minnesota early. He posted his 2 best games of the year and as a pro. It's not like he's having a bad season. 11 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, 8 of them coming in the last 2 games where he sort of started to figure things out and everything's starting to fall into place. Mooney starting to evolve under Fields when he was the quarterback. DJ Moore just emerging. He was already an alpha, like a low, like maybe the 25th or whatever, like not the best wide receiver in the league, but definitely a wide receiver 1, really showing flashes of jumping into the top half of that wide receiver 1 conversation. And the combination was deadly. 132 rating, 125 rating. The offense runs really well. Yes, he still has the ability to provide us massive explosiveness on the ground, but just the threat of him running opens up so much more in the passing game. They did extremely well. It was a shame against Denver that Justin Fields didn't play better defense in the second half and gave up, a 25-point lead. They were up 28-3. It sucks that he's really a bad cornerback and not a good defensive lineman. That's totally his fault. He needs to work on that aspect of his game. If he was to come back against this Carolina defense, who is bad against the run, at defending the pass, they possibly are losing Brian Burns for a while. Like, this is a struggling team, and the Bears extremely motivated as they hold the Carolina Panthers first round pick next year because of the trade last season where Carolina traded up to give them DJ Moore to go get Bryce Young. All of those things are in play. The Bears want this game badly. Even if they win a couple of games down the road, because they should with Justin Fields at quarterback, they're a much better team than when Tyson Bagent. Everything runs better. I think that if Fields is announced the starter, I think that the Bears move up to like a 5 or a 5.5 point favorite. I think the total jumps up for them like 2 points. I think the Panthers stay about the same. So you have a team total that'll go from like 23 to like 25 or 25.5. You have a spread that goes from 3.5 to like 5 or 5.5 because Justin Fields does matter to this Bears offense. Like I said, doubling up on touchdowns versus interceptions as opposed to the if-then statement. This is such a horrible screen. This is terrible. This does him no justice. He doesn't look like this. Tyson Bagent, through 4 games, 3 touchdown passes, 6 interceptions, absolute meltdown in the second half against New Orleans last game. Though he did flash a little bit of, he looked spry on the ground. Something that, like, he had like a total, an over-under of like 19.5 rush yards. He crushed that on his first run of the game where he ran for 20 yards. He has some sort of fantasy relevance, I guess. However, he's extremely limited. So, like, I don't think that if Fields, if he's there, is my optimal captain on this game. If Fields is not there, I don't think that Tyson Bagent ends up as an optimal captain. I think that you're looking at running backs. I think you're looking at wide receivers from the Bears. Possibly, there's 2 players on Carolina that I think are optimal captain. This is a really weak slate on Thursday night if Justin Fields doesn't play. And the reason for that, so like I don't really need, like, look, if we have Justin Fields at captain, yeah, we're going to build that same group with 2 of all the pass catchers, forcing 2 at least, Cole Kmet, Mooney. We're going to push Santos in there as there is correlation between the kicker and everything. And then we'll come all the way down here and force all these other guys who are, you know, possibly going to play Velus Jones and what's his name, Tyler Scott, and all these other guys that are just down on the list that, you know, we could get into that Justin Fields at captain lineup where if he's there, you can wait however you want for those. You can, you know, wait WEIGHT, not WAIT. But I'm probably not going to be building Tyson Bagent at captain lineups, even though Carolina, like, I'll have a couple, but like I typically will limit normal quarterbacks to 5%. I might limit to like 2 or 3% Bagent. There's just not that much, and the Bears are probably going to run the hell out of the football against Carolina because that's what you do. Now, speaking of running the hell out of the football, Deontay Foreman has gotten a whole bunch of volume in every game where they have played from ahead since the injuries to Herbert and to Roschon. Now, as they get healthier, he had 20 in the last game against New Orleans. This was a game they were playing from ahead and then lost. He has been somewhat efficient on the ground. He does not give you any sort of usage in the passing game. Carolina, though, extremely exploitable. One of the teams that we want to go after against the run. They are really bad. Second most fantasy points allowed against opposing running backs. Not much correlation to go with Foreman there. Just pile in as many points as you possibly can and shoot for ceiling opportunities. Tell yourself the story of what that means. If Foreman's going to be having a good game, that probably means that the Bears are playing from ahead. If the Bears are playing from ahead, it means that Carolina is passing more. I'm not saying there is correlation between the running back and defense because there really isn't all that much. It's kind of this fake correlation matrix thing that people have built in. Well, I'm going to play the running back, so I'm going to play the Bears D because that means that they're winning. Winning isn't the thing that gets you points. The thing that gets you points is the Bears defense being able to pressure the passer, which is something they have not really been able to do. 0 sacks against New Orleans, 0 sacks against the Chargers. Las Vegas, they had 1. Minnesota, they had 2. The interesting thing is this game against Washington, and if we go over to StatMuse, I like these little viz graphics and stuff. We used to do it with NFL Savant, and NFL Savant kind of went away. They were able to get pressure against the Commanders, and like everybody's getting pressure against the Commanders, and they logged 5 sacks against them. So it's not like the Bears D-line is doing a fantastic job of getting pressure. However, the acquisition of Montez Sweat and now the matchup against the Panthers, who have allowed 29 sacks on the season, as you can see here, it's like the Giants are horrible, the Commanders are horrible, and then we have the normal teams, and like they're right there along with the normal teams. So there is a very good possibility here And I know that people are going to want to play the Bears at captain. And you know what? Go ahead. Open it up. It's Showdown. It's 2023. Everything sucks. Do whatever you want to do. You can play him at captain if you want. My point is the Bears are probably going to be able to get more pressure than they have historically throughout 2023. And historically in 2023 sounds kind of silly, but you know what I mean. Across all of the 9 weeks prior to right now, they have not been a good pressure team. But the 1 week they were a good pressure team was against a really bad offensive line. And they have a similar situation right now, which kind of brings me to Bryce Young. I don't write off young quarterback. That's not really a showdown conversation, right? Like, you got to give these guys time. Give them 2 years, give them 3 years before you really make up your mind. I'm sure that a lot of people have already made up their mind on Bryce Young and are going with the Bryce Young is bad. Bryce Young looks bad this year, but it's not like he has an O-line that's protecting him. When you get drafted number 1, you're going to a bad team. They traded away the best wide receiver they had in order to get the quarterback because they felt they could go get a wide receiver. They're constantly playing from behind. They can't keep people off of him. He has shown flashes, but he turns the ball over a lot and he takes a lot of sacks. He doesn't have wide receivers that can make things happen on the outside. They're relying on a 78-year-old Adam Thielen who really doesn't have all that much burst left to carry, like the hard carry. And we've seen this with 30-plus players in the league, guys who are aged at 30-plus. The second half of the season ends up being a lot tougher than the first half of the season. I would love to see Adam Thielen continue to carry this sort of target percentage. I hope that he can. He is the most viable Carolina captain that is out there for them, but like, it's really uncomfortable. You're saying that the Bears are going to play from ahead in this game. You're saying that Bryce Young is going to get pressured a whole lot, and you're also hoping that he can target Adam Thielen 10 plus times, find him once in the end zone, and complete like 8 passes to him for 100 yards and the bonus. And the Bears kind of spread things around, and nobody has a 2 touchdown game in that situation. If we have Adam Thielen as our optimal captain, right? If you're building a lineup that says the Adam Thielen at captain lineup is going to win, then that means that Bryce Young had himself a good enough game, right? A game like this where he ends with 20 fantasy points and 3 touchdowns and still turns the ball over a little bit, where he's going to be tied to that lineup. He's probably going to end up with like 12 to 14 points, which is where he ends up most weeks. The Bears aren't really that great of a defense. This is such an ugly game to discuss. The only other viable captain, in my opinion, is Chuba Hubbard. And it's on volume. 17 opportunities in week 8, 20 opportunities in week 6, 22 opportunities against Indy. Hasn't really been able to do much with them, but the Bears defense on the whole has not been good this season, but the last few weeks they have played better, right? I'm going to give credit where the credit is due. The Bears defense was one that we wanted to exploit against running backs all last year and early this season. 92 yards on the ground, 120, 153, 97. They've done a lot better since week 5. 29 rushing yards, but it's against Washington. It's not like they even try to run it. They're going to throw it more times than Tom Brady threw it last year. Minnesota, 46 yards. Vegas, 29 yards. Chargers, 54 yards on the ground. New Orleans was as much as they try to run the ball, 87 yards. So, like, this defense has tightened up a little bit against opposing running backs. Does not mean that Chuba Hubbard can't have himself a day. He has certainly wrested the job from one Miles Sanders. But if you really think that he's going to get frisky and score 2 touchdowns, and this Bears defense is going to play like it did the first month of the season as opposed to the last 6 weeks of the season, then go ahead and go with Chuba Hubbard at captain. Same thing. If you're building that lineup, you need to tell yourself the story of what happens if Chuba Hubbard has himself a 30-point DraftKings day. How should the rest of this lineup work? What is working on field? What is not? And so on. Let's head over to Underdog Fantasy. And if you have not made an account over at Underdog Fantasy, you should. They're giving you free money. It's like $500 free if you use code ALSMIZZLE, ALSMIZZLE. You get up to a $500 deposit bonus on your first deposit to the site. You deposit $50, they give you $50. You deposit $100, they give you $100. You deposit $500, they're going to put $500 more in your account. Let's build a quick pick'em for this slate. I'm feeling ugly about this slate. I always bet highers. I'm just going to go lowers. We're going to go lower than that. Give me lower than 13 receiving yards for Hayden Hurst. And I don't want to go. I want the other side. See, they don't have anything for the other side. I want lower than 6.5 kicking points for Cairo Santos. That's what I want. I want all the lowers because it's dumb. For $10, $10 to win 60 over on Underdog Fantasy. Go get your new account today. Make sure you claim your free dollars. Don't leave your kids laying out in the street, right? Your kids are out in the street. Go, but there's $500 on the street. Go pick it up. What are you thinking? Let's go take a look at some of the lower price players that may be in play for you to fit all of the high dollar players and just have things coalesce around them. We're not going to look at them in captain. We're not playing these guys in captain. That's not what they are for. That's not what they are worth. We have a lot of injuries at the low end here, as you can see, and that's forcing other players into snap counts and routes. 4 targets, 3 targets, 3 targets, 2 targets is way too much volume. Isn't that weird? I'm like a big volume guy, but like, if you're going to tell me that I'm going to get a 12 target guy basically averaging 3 targets a game over the last 4 games in Tyler Scott for $200 on a showdown, every single point matters. If he breaks off a 40-yard catch, like, you know, gets a little short target like he does, low ADOT player, and then breaks 1 tackle and scampers like 45 yards, you're dancing. If he finds his way into the end zone, it's all over. So Tyler Scott at 200, one of those guys for me this week. On the other side, take a look at Terrace Marshall Jr., same sort of situation, not getting very much usage like he was earlier in the season. He's been snapped down, and we've seen the rookie Mingo get snapped way up to like 90+% usage, but Marshall's still a talented guy and a large bodied wide receiver, always going to be in play around the end zone for 400. And Tommy Tremble at 2,400, another player that they tend to utilize and roll out in their jumbo package around the goal line. 2 targets, 3 targets, 2 targets. You got to be a little bit more price sensitive at 2,400 than you do at 200 or 400. Tremble needs to get you a touchdown to get there. But if you're looking for a salary relief guy with a higher ceiling than a kicker, Tommy Tremble could be your guy to do that. Heading over to Fantasy Labs, here's the rules that I start with on every single slate. You can alter these however you want. If you don't have an account and want a discounted rate over at Fantasy Labs, especially with NBA season now going, and you can get the multi-sport package, which is the best value, go to smizzle.tv/labs with an uppercase L. It's case sensitive. The uppercase L is important. You get college football, NFL, NBA. This will take, if you get the 6-month package, it takes you all the way to the end of NBA. So here's all the rules that I build. You can screenshot here or just pause the video if you wanted to see them. Pair with captain quarterback with 2 guys. Bring it back with one of the skill position players. I limit to at most 1 defense or kicker in a game like this. If you want to make it have kicker and defense because you can't find enough valuable high volume players, go ahead. Play however you want. Do whatever you like to do. And then I try to force at least 1 player that's under 25% at running back, wide receiver. You could add tight end to this if you like. So that we can differentiate our lineups from the field, so that if we get a chance to win at the end of the game, we want to share with as few people as possible, because Showdown is always a splitting game. Make sure that you don't just think you're going to go over to Fantasy Labs and click generate and all of a sudden win. They also have just released this new Sim Labs, where they now have a simulator. The games are not loaded up for Thursday night, so I can't give you a run through on that, but go check that out. I don't know if the free trial on Sim Labs is still running, but if it is, definitely helps your game if you are a member over at Fantasy Labs. So thank you very much for watching. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.